Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you guys Hunter's Faith, the new version. Unfortunately, none of my people are on right now, so I can't demonstrate it in a group setting. However, I can talk about the group mechanic and a little bit of what's good and what's bad about it. Now, the 4-piece Hunter's Faith, which is the one that most people are going to care about, is hitting an enemy with a bullet grants you and your entire group temporary protection. The further your shot, the more protection. Each group member's protection disappears after getting hit by one hostile bullet. Now, this is designed to be used with a marksman rifle from range while in a group of, let's say, 4, because then you can give these temporary bullet shields to your entire team that are actually significantly strong, and you can do it repeatedly while being safe from cover, far back in the fight. Now, this is kind of cool. I like the fact that it's your whole group now, but that's not really the key part of Hunter's Faith here. That's a good bonus, and when used properly, it can definitely help, and it does work with automatic weapons, which means you can constantly be generating these shields, even from up close, and they're still fairly effective. Any percentage of weapon mitigation that you get from Hunter's Faith or from armor is actually very helpful in PvP. So if you're running around with Hunter's Faith, buffing up your team properly, and you're using the set to its maximum potential, you can be a well-defined support role on your team, especially if you're in the back, if you land those far shots, and you land them consistently. But the biggest bonus to Hunter's Faith, and the one that I've actually been requested to cover most, is the 20% headshot damage. Now, this is one of the very few remaining bonuses in the game after 1.4 drops that is actually a flat damage boost from a gear set. From a 3-piece gear set, you get 20% headshot damage, boom, done, end of story. It's not something that boosts stability, which theoretically means that you can land more shots. This is something that flat out boosts your per bullet damage when you get a headshot, which is really nice, and there's not many of those remaining. So that's really, really good. That does not only specifically apply to marksman rifles. You can use that with a fully automatic gun. You can use that with any gun, really. And I do believe that Hunter's Faith is now the set. If people are going for a one-shot build, this will be integral to the one-shot build. You will have to have 3-piece Hunter's Faith to build a one-shot, type build. Whether that comes from a shotgun with Reckless and Savage, or a marksman rifle with Reckless and 2 other pieces, who knows. However, Hunter's Faith actually does have a space in the meta, so I would say farm up a good amount of Hunter's Faith pieces before this patch releases. Now, I don't know if this will be changed or tuned down. It may perhaps go to 15% or 10%, because 20% is quite high in the current meta, and it's going to become essential for bursting and for high, fast-paced PvP encounters where people are capable of landing those headshots. But it's a really cool bonus. I like it a lot. The 2-piece bonus doesn't really matter at all. Considering this set is designed to be used with marksman rifles, it's not a huge deal because optimal range doesn't really affect them. However, if you are using an SMG or an assault rifle, the optimal range can help, especially with SMGs, so that's kind of nice. And SMGs, I can almost 100% confirm, will be getting an upswing in damage. The LMGs will be getting toned down, especially the hip-fire accuracy. That was confirmed on Twitter today. LMGs and their reticle size, while hip-firing, will no longer scale with accuracy, which means you can't tighten up these belt-fed machine gun reticles and then spray, hip fire with as much accuracy as you could before, which is very realistic. I like that a lot. It's a great change. Now, I'm going to talk about all my gear pieces, why I'm using the things that I'm using. I'll talk about my guns, my skills, my character, and then I'll do actually a piece of an underground hard mode world tier 4 mission really quickly to show you how it performs. And also show you the rewards associated with underground, which have changed now, and underground is actually worth doing now, which is really, really, really cool. So, we have 4-piece Hunter's Faith. We're going to start with the chest piece. I have a very high roll on stamina. I like that a lot. All pieces now come with a built-in, secondary attribute on both main stats of 148, and then you can mod them, accordingly to what you want. So I've actually got a firearms mod in here, but there would be 148 in both electronics and firearms, with the base main stat being stamina in the high amount. Now, I have EDR on this chest piece, and I have protection from elites. That's an incorrect roll. What you're going to want is armor. Armor works differently now. There's a lot of armor that you can acquire from a lot of different pieces. And actually, really quickly to show you, armor scales by world tier, okay? So for each one of these 4 world tiers, armor is going to be different and your mitigation is going to be different. So if you're in world tier 1 and you have gear score 229, and then you go into the dark zone, you're going to immediately get bumped up to world tier 4. I actually had to tackle this, this question on Facebook recently, because some of my, my community members were asking, okay, why is it that someone with higher gear score, I'm in world tier 3, but I went in the dark zone and I was getting killed by someone who's 229 and obviously should be in world tier 4. The world tier in the persistent world is variable. You can switch and go between. However, when you go specifically from the persistent world into the dark zone, you're actually going to switch automatically to the world tier that your gear score qualifies you for, and in that world tier there will be a different armor mitigation percentage and scaling than in the other 3 world tiers. So that's important to note. So always try out going into the Dark Zone, seeing what your armor mitigation is, coming back out, etc., etc. Make sure you're testing it in the right world tier. Now, I should be rolling armor on my chest piece, but I didn't. EDR is nice, but what you really want is health on kill. So this is actually a really bad chest piece. However, it gets the job done. For demonstrational purposes, it'll work. And I can still talk about the right attributes. So you want health on kill. That's extremely strong right now. You can roll it on a variety of pieces and get upwards of 40%, pretty much any build that you run. And 40% health on kill is really big, especially in PvE, but also in PvP if you get those rifle butts. So it's important to roll. Protection from elites doesn't hurt, I guess, if I'm going to be using this strictly for PvE, but it's a dead stat in PvP, and I prefer hybrid builds that are, that perform across both different mediums. Moving on to my mask. I have skill power. Again, I don't want this. This should be health on kill. I've re-rolled pretty much all these pieces just so I can get a full set and demonstrate. Anyone that's running a real Hunter's Faith build with min-maxed attributes is going to have a lot more versatility and power to the build. And skill power is no longer a good stat on mask and backpack. It's not. There's much better things that you want to get. You want health on kill from your mask. That is what I would honestly recommend. Now we're going to move on to our pads. 3% protection from elites, which actually should be armor. Again, I have built this terribly. I had to re-roll a variety of other things. I actually haven't re-rolled these pads. I could. You're going to want about 1,000 armor from your pads and boost up, as you can see here, 2,200, 2,300. That's the target armor that you want for pads, because this is going to boost your mitigation up significantly. This is one of the great pieces now. It's not just that you want to roll armor on your backpack, on your chest piece and your holster. Now you want to roll armor on your pads, your holster, your backpack, and your chest piece. And that can be switched out. You can switch out any one of those for something else if you'd like to. It's versatile, it's fun, it's diverse. But I go for as much armor as possible. However, armor is no longer the end-all attribute after health. You kind of want as much health as possible, and then armor augments that in a positive way. You cannot get 75% mitigation anymore, ever. It caps out at 60% to my knowledge, but even achieving that is quite difficult. Okay, so moving on to my holster. I do have armor on this. That's a good roll. There's nothing else really on the holster that you're going to want to roll. I may try and perfect a pistol build in the future, but right now it's all about armor on the holster. This is a very straightforward one. And then moving on to my high end. So I have some tactical gloves with Savage. Really great health on kill. Really great assault rifle damage. And some critical hit chance. Now these... the high ends now come in 229, the same gear score as the gear set pieces. They also roll just as high in the main stat and the secondary attribute categories. So high ends are now competitive. Savage, the talent is godlike in 1.4 because they've cut down on the ways to get critical hit chance. And they've cut down on the amounts that you get as well. So Savage is a really good talent to have. Again, health on kill, amazing as well. Moving on to my backpack, I have a specialized backpack, 200% of firearms and stamina to skill power. Now this is a change talent, and what this does is takes 200% of these values right here, 4,170 and 5,138, added together, multiply it by 2, and then add that to skill power. Now this backpack right here is giving me almost 20,000 skill power because I've achieved over 9,200, almost 10,000 firearms and stamina combined. This is fantastic. 20,000 skill power from a talent on a high-end backpack is actually almost double the amount that you can get as a major attribute on a maxed out gear set piece or, a maxed out skill power roll in the major attribute category. So if you are able to run the operator pack or any other backpack with specialized, go ahead and do that. That's really, really awesome. Those are my two high ends. Talking about my weapons really quick. The lightweight M4 is awesome. M4s in general are awesome. The high RPM is great. You can mod them to be plenty stable, and they do significant amounts of damage. Now, they're not on par with the belt-fed machine guns. As you can see here, 18.4. That's way over-tuned. That's way too high. And that's the point of a PTS, guys, is that that's probably going to get tuned down. But I don't believe that they're going to nerf assault rifles. I think that assault rifles are in a great spot. If anything, they're going to get stronger. And the high RPM on the M4s and the LVOACs are awesome. Now, what the talents that you have, Brutal took a hit. It's only 12% now. Accurate's good. I'm still in the process of re-rolling this over to something else like Responsive. And Vicious is great. Now, Vicious has changed. While having more than 2 segments of health, Vicious now procs. It does not mean always in your overshield you need to have full health. It means more than 2 segments, which also means you can pair Vicious with Unforgiving now and have a constant bonus of either 10% weapon damage or 10% critical strike chance, because Unforgiving procs when under 2 segments of health. So these two talents now pair extremely well, and that's what I'm trying to roll accurate for, actually, is Unforgiving, to pair those up and try that out. It's something that I'm, been theory crafting. It's a really good, solid set of talents, and there's a lot more diversity now because brutal and deadly are no longer the end-all attributes. Responsive is better than deadly in a lot of circumstances. I had this debate with some other streamers last night, and it was a really educated conversation, and there was a lot of great feedback. I believe that responsive is better than deadly. I actually believe that responsive is better than brutal because my aim is not, perfect. I can't hit those headshots every time. I think that a lot of talents are now competitive that weren't competitive before, so that's really nice. I'm not going to talk about my secondary because I'm not going to be using it. I'm going to be using this assault rifle with this Hunter's Faith and proccing that headshot bonus with the high RPM, which is great. Let me talk about my abilities. You can run the flame turret. Every turret except for the shock turret got a buff, both to base health and to damage and to range, I believe. I'm not really sure on that one, though. However, you can be running Pulse. Pulse got a significant nerf or down tune, if you will. As you can see here, it now, has significantly less critical hit chance and significantly less critical hit damage. However, I will be running this in my solo play build because I'm going to be, my crits are going to scale with the headshot damage from Hunter's Faith, and all these are going to stack on top of each other to create, not a horrible build, something that's really nice. Moving on now to my talents. The talents are a little bit different now. One is none still works. However, I've had some mixed reviews from people, from other streamers, from other content creators, saying that it doesn't feel like it procs 50% of the time anymore. It kind of feels like it procs 33.3% of the time. I haven't done a concrete test to test that, but it's something that I'm still going to use because I am aiming exclusively for the head almost 100% of the time. I am going to be using precision to pulse while my pulse is down because I will not have 100% uptime on my pulse skill. I no longer will have that probably ever unless I go full skill build, and even then it might not happen. I would have to be proccing cooldown reduction in some form or another. On the move is amazing. On the move is fantastic now. You're going to be killing targets a lot quicker and a lot more often. So the 30% reduced incoming damage for 10 seconds is great. You can get that on any NPC that you see other than maybe an elite machine gunner, LMGer, is going to be able to proc on the move for you, which is really cool. Strike back is nice because that's some cooldown reduction right there. You reduce the active skill cooldowns by 20% when you reach low health, which oftentimes allows you to pop your heal again. But there are a lot of talents that are relevant now. Something like tech support is nice. It really is going to extend the duration of your skills. If you're in a group, triage still works up to 45% if you proc it on all three of your teammates, and it does work for them to proc on you. So what you can do is have infinite skills and spam, but it takes a severe amount of coordination. All four of you have to pop your heals at the same time on all of each other, and then you can start to have, instant cooldowns on your heals. This is not something that most groups can do. That's why I'm not really stressed out about it. All of these pug groups that go in there with 4 sticky bombs or whatever, or 4 shotgunners that were just triage spamming, that's gone. That will be gone because you're going to have to be very well coordinated to actually abuse or use triage effectively. I shouldn't even say abuse. To just use it to max potential, you got to be very, very well coordinated. Adrenaline works nice, and if you're in a group, Combat Medic is good, and there's a variety of other talents that you can use depending on your build, but those are what I'm running right now. I'm going to mouse over my character sheet really quickly so you guys can see the different values. Critical hit chance is 25% right now, and that goes significantly higher with Pulse. I like that a lot. It's very difficult to meet crit cap now without a specific set of weapon talents. Without Fierce and Vicious, and without the right rolls on your gloves and things like that, and on your weapon mods, and, a fairly high amount of skill power to then pulse, you're not going to be able to individually meet the critical hit chance cap. It's not going to happen. You can get close, but what you're going to need, if you're going to try and meet that cap, you're going to want an SMG first of all, and after they get an uptune, and it's going to take a lot of investment in your build in order to achieve that. So it's something you should keep in mind. It's still a viable build, but it's not what everyone's going to be running. There's going to be true diversity. Headshot damage is the real, gem in this build. Critical hit damage, not so much. I'm going to scroll all the way through the rest of my attributes. If you guys want to see, hopefully you can pause it and just check out whichever individual attribute you want. So I'm now going to do a underground hard mode operation. Now, this will drop the best gear in the game. This is World Tier 4, but it's also soloable for me, okay? And as you can see, when I add a directive, I get 32 Phoenix credits and increased experience. This is the winner right here. I can farm underground now for the credits that I need to reroll my guns. And I can't even imagine when I have 2, 3, 4, 5 directives. 5 directive undergrounds now, if you can manage to get through them, probably gives something fantastic if 1 directive is going to give me Phoenix credits. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what that is. So this actually gives me an incentive to grind out underground. I'm not going to do it on stream or anything like that, but I want to show you guys some of the better rewards that are going to come with doing this kind of thing. This kind of DLC. Because underground up till now hasn't really been something I cared about or wanted to deal with. Did I not set it? All right, I guess I didn't set the operation. Let me go back and set it real quick. There are people down here. The PTS is popping off. I mean, it's alive. It's ready to go. And here we go. All right, let's go check this out. I'll probably go through the whole thing. I'll show you the headshot damage. I'll show you the bullet mitigation that you get based on the distance. Hopefully I'll be able to fully proc an entire green bar. That'll be awesome. When you actually shoot from far enough away with Hunter's Faith, you get a full green bar, and it feels really nice when that happens because you know you're getting, I don't know, maybe 20% extra armor from that, which is really, really cool. Now, there has been some debate that whether or not Hunter's Faith can go over the armor cap when you are at 60% mitigation or something like that. And the thing is, regardless of whether or not it can or cannot, if you go down to my survivability or my combat sheet, let's go down survivability, armor's at 41% for me. That's really, really low. I haven't rolled armor on the proper pieces, so if I can engage from range and actually hit a target from 10 meters away and get a 1% per meter, that's an extra 10%. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal when fighting NPCs or players. So for me, the 4-piece works quite well. For some group compositions where everybody's maxed out on armor, it won't work as well. But for me, it's actually something that's really good. And I think the 3-piece is just what can't be ignored. The 20% headshot damage with, for instance, an M44, a sniper rifle, or, certain shotguns is quite strong. It's quite strong. Now, as you can see, my aim is not exactly the best in the world. However, the headshot damage is what makes this a good build. There it is. When I can land those shots, I do significant damage. I do competitive damage with actually any other build. The 20% headshot damage is so vastly powerful right now in the PTS that I think most builds are going to end up running 3-piece Hunter's Faith, because all that 20% headshot damage makes it competitive with even builds that give, like strikers. You would have to stack up a significant amount of your striker bonus just to compete with that 20% headshot damage. So there's a lot of things that I think need some adjustment, and the 20% is one of them. But as you can see, it scales very well now for solo play. The Underground does. I guess this video can kind of double as an Underground review, not just a Hunter's Faith review, and I'll continue to do content like this. However, the Underground scales quite well with one player. I'm not even... This is a build that is nowhere near min-maxed. If I was on my Alpha Bridge LMG build, or if I was on my Predator's Mark, PvE build with the bleed, with the great assault rifles, then I would be shredding through this even faster. And as it stands, even a mediocre build can complete content like this and gear up, which is really, really cool. So they're fighting the JTF. I like lighting those on fire. It actually detonates and does significant damage to everything around, not just you if you're there. So I'm not really sure if they added diversity in the mob types to Underground. I know that was something that they talked about. That's something that people have brought up. However, I don't know if that's 100%, the way that they're going. Health on kill is great. It's absolutely fantastic. And you can proc it at will on enemies that are this squishy, because the new time to kill is so good. Ammo is not a problem at all. This is just to touch on that really quick. Ammo is not an issue. Now, you have so much ammo, and I'm sure they're going to down-tune it. And if they don't, actually, that's fine, because I think it's a valid argument to say that you shouldn't be concerned with ammo. I think that in a game like this, where there are so many other factors that we want to be worrying about and need to worry about, I don't think that ammo should be something that we are concerned with. However, having as much as we do means I can basically go through an entire incursion with an LMG and never run out of ammo ever once. Which means that all the restocks, the temporary restocks, are like a null factor. They're not a mechanic that I need to do. I don't actually have to leave cover to go get ammo because I never need to get ammo. Which is cool. Again, I don't like to have to worry about it. But in an extended activity, I feel like it may need to be something that you guys are conscious of, that I'm conscious of. And Massive could easily, make that the case. However, I don't want to see it go back to the old days where you had to be conscious of it all the time, because if you weren't, you would run out and then you'd be dead. Definitely don't want to see that happen. So getting those headshots is great. Pairing it with one is none. And then the 20% headshot damage is nice. Obviously, someone with better aim than I have, can go through this type of content a lot faster. However, I have a good time doing it. It's the right difficulty for me, I feel like, which is nice. It's not too hard and it's not too easy. If anything, it's too easy. This is a mediocre build. It's not the hardest difficulty though, so if I were to select challenging, I may not be able to complete the content. Hard is right on par. I'm not min-max, but I have a build that is using the best, you know, weapons and the best, you know, gear and the best stat points in the game, so that's pretty cool. And it's something I'm putting together and it's competitive. Now, if I were to go on challenging, I might be able to complete it. It may take significantly more time, and I may have to use a different build in order to get it done, but it would be harder. So when I'm talking about the game being too easy, it's important to remember that I'm not on the hardest difficulty. Let's see. So from here, as you can see, I get that green bar, and if I trade shots with him, it helps significantly to reduce incoming damage. Now, if you can't get lit up from the side like I just was, that can still kill you. There are things that are still dangerous, even though the time to be killed is significantly longer now, and everybody feels more tanky, because even with reduced toughness, I can still survive a lot longer than I ever could in 1.3. It's important to note you still can't face tank as much. I have a bad habit of doing that. In fact, I really need to break that habit, and I have yet to do it. But I'm working on it, and hopefully it will work out in the end. Destroy that. Yeah, the time to kill on any sort of purple enemy, extremely short. On elites, it's nowhere near what it was. You can kill them with, you know, less than a magazine. It's all about hipfire on PC too, something I wasn't really aware of till coming onto this platform. And I have a whole new respect for people on PC that are good at PvP, because it's something that I've struggled with significantly over the past few days to become competitive. Okay. So the headshot damage is where it's at. That's what shines. That's what shines. 100%. Alright, let's go downstairs. Additional hostiles. Alright. Uh-oh. Okay. There we go. These elite flamethrowers, I'll try and actually demonstrate it right now. These guys will bum rush you. I almost got it. There we go. He will bum rush me now. See? He ran after me. That's something you got to avoid. They will run after you as soon as their tank is lit, and they'll jump at you and like blow up right on top of you. So be aware of that. That's something that can actually really hurt you and wipe an entire team if it's not handled properly. Oh, that's the boss. Alright, he's got a shotgun. Shotguns on NPCs are still quite strong. Oh, geez. They're still strong, so it's not something to be just totally ignored like, oh, they're crap now, I can do whatever I want. If I face tank this guy, I will lose. It's important to time your, you know, your advances and stuff like that. So, picked up the loot, finished it. That was a hard mode one. A hard mode underground mission. Quite easy to do. For someone that has better gun skill than me, it's even easier. And that's the phase completed. So, that's going to be it for the build review, guys. As you can see, I did get my Phoenix credit reward, I believe. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Did I get it? Yeah, I had way less than this. So, yeah, I got my Phoenix credits. I got my experience. You know, I got all my rewards, and that's a one phase. Something you can farm easily. You can farm one phases extremely fast. Get the Phoenix credits. There's a whole new level of value to Underground now. So, as always, guys, thank you for watching the video. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links below. And have a nice day.